Hello everyone, welcome to Front Page. Today we have a very special guest, Anne Bouverot. She is the Special Envoy for AI for France, government of France. She's here visiting Bangalore, I think for a day. Yeah, welcome.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
welcome, Anne.
Thank you.
How is the entire, it's just been one day, you had a busy day. How are you making sense of all the conversation that you had with people? You were in Delhi as well.
Yes.
How is India embracing, or, how is France and India embracing, and what are your few learning, and this is your first time here in India after you've taken the role of Special Envoy for AI for France there. So how is what is the conversation, what is the responsibility that is being put on your plate? You can unearth that.
So I'm delighted to be here, first of all.
Yeah, thank you.
I've been working in AI actually for a while, and I organized last year the AI Action Summit.
Correct.
That took place in Paris, where Prime Minister Modi came and many other
Yes.
heads of states and CEOs. And now, next February, it will be India organizing the AI Impact Summit.
Yes.
So from action to impact.
Damn.
And President Macron will be coming. I'm sure with other heads of state. So I'm here to help prepare that visit.
Amazing.
I'm also here to try and support the team organizing the AI Impact Summit.
Got it.
Because of course we went through the organization of the French summit. It was
Correct.
a lot of work, of sleepless nights, of stress. So we were trying to help and support the team in India as much as we can.
Got it.
And then in 2026, this will be the year of Indo-French innovation.
Got it.
So I'm also looking forward to that and to having our ecosystems, our startups, our researchers work together going forward.
Got it. So you mentioned about the Action Summit and now the AI Impact Summit.
Yes.
So what are some of your expectation from that particular summit, from action to impact, particularly from say the from a France perspective, in terms of how you guys were able to do that particular summit, and what can India take from that? Yeah.
So we try to really not only focus on the technology, but what it means for people, for society, and for the planet. And our words, I don't want to say mantra, but our thoughts were that a technology becomes what we make of it. So we were focusing on action, which was the action needed to make the technology beneficial.
Correct.
And so we had a number of work streams on work, on innovation, on sustainability, on public interest, and we're very happy to see that these themes continue for the preparation of the Impact Summit, with some additional ones, which are very important. And we see that now moving from action to impact, it's really what will be the impact of the technology for people, for education, for healthcare, for all sorts of domains, for commerce, for agriculture. I think that's really important. And yesterday in Delhi, I visited the All India Institute for Medical Science, and together with Wadwani AI, they're doing these. They have these tools for early detection, like of tuberculosis or of blindness that would be induced by diabetes, and all these types of applications, I think, are really important.
It's quite exciting, right? So I just want to take a step back, in terms of, understanding from the innovation landscape. So if you see US, right, they're very innovation first kind of a thought process when it comes to AI. Then you have Europe, more in terms of values first. And France has somehow balanced very beautifully in terms of innovation as well as trying. So I mean, there are certain companies, if I can take name like Mistral, right, and coming out of these places. So how do you see, like, what are some of the learning for India, right? So India is more in terms of public good first kind of an approach in terms of planning to build, even in the AI Impact Summit, right? So some of the things that I am aware of from the insider things is in terms of building sovereign compute, sovereign AI models, and all of that. It kind of aligns with France's, kind of AI framework and the policies. So what do you suggest like India should go in terms of, are they in the right track? And I think recently, just few days before your visit, they came up with a kind of a guidelines for governance, AI governance framework guidelines as well, governance guidelines. So that talks about all of these aspects. So what do you think India is heading in the right direction, or what are your thoughts on that? That's a lot of questions. Sorry. Yeah.
It is a lot of questions.
Yeah, but that's how exciting AI is getting. And
I know.
There's so many questions. Like
yes.
Yeah.
So I think every country needs to balance the innovation aspect and the regulation aspect.
Correct.
Clearly, and this is also why I really wanted to come to Bangalore. The innovation is really buoyant here, and I think every country needs to help startups and to fund them and sponsor them, and at the same time give them guidelines. So I understand that this week as well there was an announcement for a scale-up investment fund here in India.
Got it.
For startups when they get a bit bigger, which they tend to do quickly in AI. And I think that's very good. I think we have tools like that in France and in Europe, but only recently. So this is really something that goes in the right direction. At the same time, the government needs to protect citizens. So we need some guidelines. And for example, in Europe, personal data protection is very important because of our history, because of what happened with the world wars. So that's something that citizens think is very important. And we have a regulation for that. And Indian startups that come to Europe, of course, need to take that into account. And at the same time, we in France are trying to make sure that regulation is fit for purpose and that innovation is stimulated and is not hampered by regulation. So that's the type of path that each country needs to try and take, and India is doing a very good job at it.
Thank you for that. And you've been advocate for countries should create their own technology or models versus consuming it, right? So there is like a big debate in terms of consuming versus creating, and we've seen in France, like companies like Mistral and all of that, you are not dependent on the foreign technology, and that will have a long-term impact. So what are your thoughts on creation versus consumption for a country like India? Do you think they should invest a lot of money in terms of building data centers, building the models, and also I know you are an advocate of small language models which can work for a particular cause. How are you seeing these things unfold?
Yes, so I think no single country can do everything independently.
Got it.
And clearly France cannot and India cannot.
Got it.
But the approach, I mean, technological sovereignty or resilience is something that now citizens in pretty much every country, I mean, in France, in Germany, in Italy, in Japan, I'm sure in India, people consider that more and more important. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that we will stop using any technology from other countries. Of course, we will continue.
Got it.
But we need to be able to distinguish between use cases. Like, for example, for hospitals and patient data, you need to do everything you can to protect that. Of course, for defense, you want to be as self-sufficient or really working with allies. And for companies, you want them to have choice and be able to choose which providers they use for each technology and protect their know-how and of course jobs for their employees as well. So in each case, we need to look at what the right framework is, and that the government can help with, and that companies and individuals need also to take a role into. So from that perspective, in France, we're trying to pick the areas where we think it's important to do our own. We're super proud of Mistral and to be able to have them. Of course, it doesn't mean that we only use one LLM. We also use others. We try to push Mistral ahead, but we use other companies as well. For data centers, we also try to invite them because we have enough electricity for them. Of course, data centers cannot come before your own usage for your hospitals, for your companies, for your schools. But if you have excess electricity, which we do, then we welcome data centers. And of course, we also are lucky to have a lot of carbon-free electricity, thanks to nuclear and thanks to renewable energies. So that's also good in terms of taking care of the carbon impact of the technologies. But maybe just one more thing, you alluded to it. The more we can, for usage, rely on specific models, tiny ones that can be on mobile phones, the more energy efficient it is and the better it is.
Absolutely. Last question is basically in terms of, you've been on a different, you wear multiple hats. Like you wore, you lead France's national strategy, and you've been part of the Silicon Valley boardroom, and also you have run dialogues at Vatican there. So I just want to understand.
I haven't run them, I've been a participant.
Sorry, my bad, participant.
No.
It's very interesting. I've watched them all like a fanboy there. So I just want to understand, like, how do you balance, innovation, enthusiasm versus, your ethical aspect? And also another aspect is in terms of, are you like technology first or a philosophical driven kind of a person? How do you keep up with the crazy thing that is happening in the entire AI ecosystem there? That's a 3 different question. I'm so short of time.
No, but that's a great question. And I've been thinking about that. I think as human beings, curiosity is one of the things that drives us. We like to meet new people, to discover new places, and therefore that's what attracts us to new technology and innovation. And I'm certainly very much drawn to innovation and technology. And at the same time, the role of societies and the role of governments is to protect its members and its citizens. So I think what you need to try and do is to balance the two. You shouldn't try and stop innovation. That typically doesn't work. But you should try and steer it in the area of beneficial innovation that benefits people. And you should try and put guardrails where there are risks. And one of the things that I really appreciate in the Vatican dialogues, and there are other places that can do that, of course, is that there's this voice that wants to help people find the path in this direction. One of the things that I find particularly impressive is that the Pope that is today in the Vatican, Leo XIV, chose his name because more than 100 years ago, Leo XIII actually tried to find this path for the Industrial Revolution. He wrote a text which is called, it's in Latin, but it says it's about new things. So it's about innovation. And he was trying to find the way between, on the one hand, people who were saying private property should be abolished and communism should come. And on the other hand, people who were saying all the wealth should be concentrated in the hands of a few companies and workers should just work and whatever the conditions. So this was a text to try and find something that was neither of those, but a way for progress. I'm not advocating particularly for that religion, but for this type of way of trying to find a route. I think that was really interesting and inspiring.